Chapter 8. A pirate enters, but Robin Hood leaves. Tom dodged through the streets until he was out of the way of the students who were coming back to school. Then he ran. Half an hour later, he was on top of the big hill and the schoolhouse could hardly be seen. He went into the big woods and sat down in the center of it. Tom was sad. He sat long on his elbows with his knees and his chin in his hands, thinking. It seemed to him that his life was nothing but trouble at best, and it must be peaceful, he thought, to be dead, and a dream forever and ever. He thought about Becky. What had he done? Nothing! He had meant the best in the world, but he had been treated like a dog, like a very dog. She would be sorry someday, maybe when it was too late. Ah, if he could only die for a time. God, he's a drama queen. What if he went away, even so far away beyond the seas, and never come back anymore? How would she feel then? He would be a clown. No, he didn't feel like being funny. No, he would rather be a soldier and return after years of long years, a hero. No, better still, he would join the Indians, hunt buffalo, go on the warpath, and away into the future come back as a great chief. But no, there was something better even than this. He would be a pirate, that's it. He would sail the seas with his low black ship, pistol on his belt, and a cutlass at his side. He would unfurl the black flag with the skull and crossbones on it and make people shudder. His name would fill the world, and everyone would whisper, "It's Tom Sawyer, the pirate, the Black Avenger of the Spanish Main." Yes, it was settled. He would be a pirate. He would run away from home and enter upon it. He would start the very next morning. But he must begin to get ready now. Tom went to a rotten log near him and began to dig under one end of it with his jackknife. He soon struck wood that sounded hollow. He put his hand there and uttered a charm. "What hasn't come here, come. What here, stay here." Then he scraped away the dirt and uncovered a little box made of shingles. In it lay a marble. Tom was puzzled. He scratched his head and said, "Well, that beats anything." Then he tossed the marble away and stood thinking. The truth was, he had buried this box with a marble here before. But if you buried a marble in the woods and said certain words and left the marble there for 2 or 3 weeks, all the marbles you have lost were supposed to gather here themselves. Tom had buried marbles before, but he had never been able to find the place he had hid them before. He puzzled over the matter some time. Finally, he decided that some witch must have broken his charm, and he thought he would make sure about it. So he looked around until he found a small sandy spot with a little hole, and he lay himself down and putting his mouth close to the earth or the hole, and called it, "Doodlebug, tell me what I want to know. Doodlebug, tell me what I want to know." The sand moved. Presently, a small bug appeared for a second and then darted away into the sand. "He can't tell. It was a witch. That did it. I knew it," he said to himself. Tom knew that you can't fight witches, so he gave up trying to work the charm. He looked for the marble that he had thrown away, but he couldn't find it. He went back to the exact spot where he tossed the marble, and then took another marble from his pocket and tossed it in the same way and said, "Brother, go find your brother." He watched where it had stopped and went there and looked. He couldn't find it, so he tried 2 more marbles. The last one was successful. He found 2, but then he lost 2. This kid's a mess. Just here, the sound of a toy tin trumpet came through the green woods. Tom threw off his jacket and rolled up his trousers, raked up some brush behind the rotten log where a rude bow and arrow, a lath sword, and a tin trumpet were hidden, and in a moment he seized these things and bounded away, bare-legged with a fluttering his shirt. He stopped under a great elm, blew an answering blast, and commanded a make-believe company. "Hold, my merry men! Keep hid till I blow." Now appeared Joe Harper, dressed, and with a sword like Tom's. Tom called, "Hold! Who comes here into Sherwood Forest without my pass?" "Guy of Gisborne wants no pass. Who art thou that... Joe trailed off. "Dares to hold such language," said Tom, "helping for the boys talked the Robin Hood story from the book from memory. "Who art thou that dares to hold such language?" "Ay, indeed, I am Robin Hood, as thy cateth carcass soon shall know." Top of page 48. "Then thou art indeed the famous outlaw. Right gladly will I dispute with thee the passes of thy merry wood. Have at thee!" They took their swords and made a fencing position, foot to foot, and began a serious, careful fight. 2 steps up, 2 steps back. By and by Tom shouted, top of the next page, "Fall, fall, why don't you fall?" "I won't fall. Why don't you fall yourself? You're getting the worst of it." "Why, that isn't anything. I can't fall. That isn't the way it's in the book. The book says, 'Then with one backhanded stroke he slew poor Guy of Gisborne. So turn around and let me hit you in the back.'" There was no arguing with the book, so Joe turned around and got the stroke of the sword and fell. "Now," said Joe, "get up." Getting up, "You've got to let me kill you. That's fair." "Why, I can't do that. It's not in the book," said Tom. "Well, it's blame mean, that's all," said Joe. "Well, say, Joe, you can be Friar Tuck, or Much, the miller's son, and slam me with the quarterstaff. Or I'll be the sheriff of Nottingham, and you be Robin Hood a little while, and kill me." This was done. Then Tom became Robin Hood again, until at last Robin Hood was burnt under the greenwood trees where the arrow fell. But Tom lay on the thorns and sprang up too quickly to be good, dead Robin Hood. At last the boys hid their outfits and went home, grieving that there were no outlaws anymore, and they said they would rather be outlaws a year in Sherwood Forest than a president of the United States forever.